You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
It really works with time-honored processes that are mainly psychodynamic.
If they end up in the hands of somebody who's engaged in a fraudulent treatment practice of conversion therapy, they may be damaged.
Conversion therapy is used to change the sexual orientation to those who identify as gay, bisexual, or transgender. Should it be banned in Sarasota? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on conversion therapy in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. Since Parkland, Sarasota has been struggling to come up with an approach to keep county schools safe. Today in Sarasota County, the school board held an executive session to talk about law enforcement and mental health in schools. Tonight, it votes on putting at least one duty police officer at every elementary school for the rest of the school year. The school district's chief operating officer says there would be a total of 21 armed officers staffed for the entire school day.
I think what's important for parents to know is every single day, the single most important thing in the world to all of us is the safety of their children.
Tonight, the school board is deciding on allocating a total of $25 million for all things school safety. You might remember on Tuesday here on ABC 7 at 7, we had a discussion about the legislation known as red flag protection. Well, 3 senators, 2 from Florida, have now introduced the legislation in Washington. Senators Marco Rubio and Bill Nelson and Jack Reed of Rhode Island presented the bill, which encourages states to give law enforcement the authority to prevent individuals who pose a threat to themselves or others the ability to purchase firearms.
Well, the goal of this legislation is to create an incentive for the rest of the states to do what Florida and 5 other states have already done, and that is put in place strong extreme protection risk orders so that law enforcement and family members have a tool that they can use to go to court, convince a judge that this person is dangerous, and take away their guns before they can take away anyone's lives.
Florida passed the red flag legislation earlier this month. A Manatee County widow is calling for changes after her husband's body was left on the side of a road for hours after he suffered a heart attack. Ty Ross was walking his dogs around the Palmasola Marina when deputies say he dropped dead. EMS tried to revive him but were unsuccessful and left the scene. When Ty's wife Julie arrived, a deputy was watching over her husband's body. She estimates he was lying there on the side of the road for at least 3 hours before she had a funeral home come take his body away.
I just don't think that's right. I really don't. I thought it was disrespectful. The reason I'm doing all this or even telling my story is I don't want it to happen to the next person.
According to Manatee County, there is no policy in place for EMS when someone dies in a public place. However, the county is now working on a policy after hearing Julie's story. An update now on an investigation into a 2016 car crash that killed a 24-year-old Bradenton woman. Troopers say in November 2016, Mason Tyler Aliano made a left-hand turn on a red light at the intersection of State Road 64 and Lakewood Ranch Boulevard. Aliano's vehicle collided with another car, killing Ashley Amelia Shore. Now, the 20-year-old is charged with DUI, manslaughter, and vehicular homicide. He was arrested Tuesday and booked into the Manatee County Jail, where he is being held on $50,000 bond. The spring training season is winding down on the Suncoast as teams prepare to start the regular season a week from today. But despite a month of good weather and only 1 rainout, some fans say they have noticed a dip in attendance. According to the Pirates, average attendance at Lecom Park dropped from last season with 4 home games left, and the Orioles had their 5th sellout earlier today, 1 year after nearly setting a franchise record in spring training attendance. Some fans say an earlier start is to blame. The MLB set opening day on March 29th for the first time to give players more off days during the regular season.
It's not rainouts, and they still have quality teams, premium games, non-premium games. There's just something with the timing, and I think they'll reevaluate it next year.
The Orioles weren't able to provide their average attendance numbers this season so far, but ABC7, but they did have a sellout crowd today of over 8,000 against the Red Sox this afternoon. Their last home game is Saturday night, and the Pirates' final home game will be on Monday. The Northport Police Department's assistant chief is being placed on paid leave after a complaint was filed for an undisclosed reason. Mike Pelfrey's leave comes at an interesting time for the department, as current police chief Kevin Vespia is set to retire next week with no interim chief chosen yet. Attorney General Jeff Sessions was in Tallahassee today to discuss President Trump's plan to combat the opioid epidemic. 2 days ago, the president instructed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in drug-related prosecutions. Opioids are responsible for an estimated 16 deaths per day in Florida. Opioid-related deaths jumped by 35% in 2016, according to a report released by the state's medical examiners late last year.
These are not just numbers, they're moms and dads and brothers and sisters, daughters, spouses, friends, neighbors. It's just a very, very sad thing. More and more people are being touched by this disaster.
Sessions' visit to the Capitol comes less than a day after Congress approved a $1.3 trillion spending package, including $3.3 billion for mental health and substance abuse treatment and services. Now let's head over to ABC7 meteorologist Steve Newman with the First Alert forecast. Steve.
Hi, Alan. It is starting to cool off across Florida tonight, but this could be winter's last bite. This could be the last chill, this really significant chill that we're going to get. It's going to get in the 40s tonight, but it's still in the 60s across most of our viewing area. Lake Placid hanging in there with a 70-degree temperature, but that won't last long. Currently at the airport it's 60 degrees, and look at that, how dry the air is. 37%, a 37-degree dew point, the humidity 42%, and it's only the winds that are going to keep us from plunging through the 40s and maybe even reaching the upper 30s tonight. So I think 45 will be our average low. By satellite, there are a few thin clouds not quite showing up here, but it should be a beautiful sunset in about a half hour's time. There certainly won't be any rain to mar it. Taking a look at our almanac for today. The high temperature was 66 degrees. Last night's low was 51. You can see how that stacks up against normal. It's been as warm as 89. Set back in 1923. If you're heading out on the town tonight, staying home, barbecuing in your backyard, whatever, it's going to be chilly. And with the low humidity, the temperatures feel cooler than that because the air is so dry. And this evaporative cooling on your skin actually makes it feel cooler than the actual air temperature.
Don't miss the humidity.
No.
All right, thanks a lot.
It'll slowly come back over the weekend.
All right, thanks a lot, Steve. And still to come, with counties already banning conversion therapy throughout Florida, is Sarasota next?
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment, and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
You now have the power to prioritize your Facebook feed and get local news and information from the team you trust. Go to the ABC7 Sarasota page on Facebook. Give us a like, then click following and choose See First. That's it. Customize even more by choosing notifications. Choose breaking news, posts, live videos, anything you want to see in real time. Take control of your newsfeed and stay connected to what's happening in your community with ABC7 on Facebook.
maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Well, now she's like, you waste planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app.
It's a controversial therapy aimed at turning around the sexual orientations of gays and bisexuals, and now an effort is underway to ban it in Sarasota. Groups like the Human Rights Campaign and Equality Florida argue conversion therapy could have a negative and long-lasting impact on patients. More than a dozen cities and counties in Florida have passed conversion therapy bans. ABC7's Erica Jackson has more.
It's still a problem for people who don't know or don't think they know gay people.
Ken Sheelan knows what it's like to not feel comfortable in his own skin. He denied his feelings for years, but now he's in a happy relationship with another male and wants other gay men and women to express themselves freely.
It is important for everybody to be themselves, whether they're gay or straight. So why would somebody want to change someone? It doesn't make any sense.
They believe that homosexuality is genetic, naturally inborn, and it's just not true. There is no gay gene. There's no consensus on the research that shows it is genetic.
Reparative therapist David Pickup believes homoerotic feelings are caused by an emotional disturbance during childhood, and conversion therapy can help a gay man or woman discover their heterosexual self over time.
It really works with time-honored processes that are mainly psychodynamic.
If they end up in the hands of somebody who's engaged in a fraudulent treatment practice of conversion therapy, they may be damaged.
Sheila knows minors who have gone through conversion therapy and thinks it's a health risk. The American Psychological Association supports his claims and reports reparative therapy could have lasting negative effects, including depression and suicide. That's why Sheelan, who was a former Sarasota commissioner,
This discussion about waiting is ridiculous.
is asking the city to ban conversion therapy for minors.
It's your role as government to protect its citizens, and especially those most unable to protect themselves.
City commissioners voted 3-2 to draft an ordinance prohibiting medical professionals from engaging in the practice.
I do think that it's important enough for us to take a position on, and if there is a question, which it does seem that there is, we have a split circuit decision. I want to make sure that we're on the right side of it.
According to the Movement Advancement Project, 9 states and the District of Columbia ban conversion therapy for minors. 19 Florida cities and counties passed local conversion therapy bans, including nearby Tampa. The city adopted a similar ordinance last year, but a conservative advocacy group is pursuing a lawsuit claiming the ban violates the First Amendment rights of therapists. Pickup says Sarasota doesn't realize the harm that could be created by a citywide ban.
Sarasota needs to think long and hard about what they're about to do to children.
Sheila knows of a few reparative therapists in Bradenton, but is unaware of any in Sarasota. He says creating a ban is an important first step in taking preventative action.
Our goal is to prevent damage instead of waiting till the damage occurs and then try to fix it.
Coming up, both sides of this issue and a former city commissioner here in Sarasota. The Trapezoid is next.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me help you out?
Everyone plays a part. Don't trash
I love taking stuff apart and building new things out of it.
what could be treasure.
Pal's my most advanced android. This is awesome. You haven't seen anything yet.
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
Thank you.
What are you doing? You are the best protection she has. Buddy up. I'm Jill Harrington. Please visit helpsavethenextgirl.com and get involved.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
Welcome back. Should the city of Sarasota ban the practice known as reparative therapy? The city commission is considering an ordinance making that illegal. The practice known as conversion therapy is controversial to say the least. Tampa adopted an ordinance last year banning it. Now some are concerned practitioners are leaving Tampa and could set up shop here in Sarasota. Joining us for more is Suzanne Atwell. You may know her as a former city commissioner. She is also a licensed therapist, and also Nathan Brummer, who is from Also Youth. And joining us from Dallas is David Pickup, a licensed family therapist who also practices conversion therapy. And David, let me start with you, because if you heard Erica's story there, the American Psychological Association supports the idea that this kind of therapy could be damaging to youngsters, and I want to get your response to that.
Conversion therapy is damaging. I don't do conversion therapy. That's the big news here. I don't know where, well, I do know where the term was gotten from. It's gotten from LGBT activists around the state that are forcing their agenda onto therapists and children and adults and politicians. That term, conversion therapy, which is offensive to my colleagues and my clients, it connotates some kind of pray away the gay, religious boot camps, shaming experiences. They tend to say that we hook up people to electrodes and shock them and do electroshock therapy, aversion techniques, which are all horrible. Reparative therapy is all about authenticity, resolving the causes for people who know that their homosexual feelings are not genetic, not naturally inborn, that are caused by trauma in childhood, some of which is sexual abuse. And what Sarasota is saying is that a child who has been sexually abused, a heterosexual child that comes into my office, they say it's illegal to alter sexual feelings that have, for any reason, which includes sexual abuse. It's quite amazing.
All right, Suzanne, you are also a licensed therapist, although we know you here on the Sun Coast as a former city commissioner. Respond to what David said in terms of, if you heard him in Erica's story, there is no gay gene, that this is basically heterosexual children who, because of trauma in their youth, are now gay.
No, and I with all the experience and all the information, and I mean, there is a plethora, and I could name every medical and psychological association that would debunk all those ideas. When I was a therapist many years ago in the community, I had clients that would come to me to talk about issues of sexuality, and my job as a licensed therapist, I am licensed, I am regulated, and my job is to make sure that I work with the youth and get their authentic self. And this, to me, flies in the face of that. Kids today need to look to the therapist to get their authentic self. And I use that word very liberally, authentic self, because if you start excising out of that, changing that, you're going to have a multitude of problems.
Nathan, let me ask you this, and some people who are watching this right now might ask, is this a an issue that is looking for a solution where there is not a problem right now in Sarasota, since there are no therapists who currently practice it?
So, valid question. The history that your other guest sort of alluded to is a part of the history of reparative therapy or conversion therapy. Just because you dress it up, it has still got a long history.
There's a real difference between conversion and reparative therapy.
And I understand that. It's a bit of a convoluting of what we're talking about, I think. If you've got a trauma issue, that's a valid issue to be dealt with in a therapeutic environment. If you have an identity that requires therapy, then you honor that as well. None of the major organizations nationally support this, whether you call it conversion therapy or reparative therapy. Most Floridians don't want it. Based on a 2017 poll, 71% of Floridians don't want something like this. It's harmful and it's ineffective.
Okay. Well, we are obviously just scratching the surface here. We are just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on conversion therapy in a moment.
It's time to take a road trip.
Burn rubber for Birmingham, where you can feed your need for speed at Barber Motorsports Park and Museum. Now this gets my motor running. Meet Iron Men. Hey there, big guy. And make a date with your 9-iron. Feed the animals at the zoo and the birds. Then enjoy the award-winning restaurant scene. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it.
Which one you gonna take?
Since 1972, Sleep King has provided quality mattresses and accessories at the best discounted prices available. Top brands like Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Beautyrest, iComfort, and more. With available free delivery, free financing, and free setup and removal. For a comfortable night's sleep with same-day delivery, even if we have to carry it on our backs. Trust Sleep King of Sarasota. Buy it today, sleep on it tonight.
We are problem solvers striving for answers. Relevancy on every platform. We are driven to create content that's compelling, engaging, where it matters. We are neighbors that care about solutions, believers in making a difference, leaders. Innovating in an exciting era of multimedia, reaching to always be the gold standard in our evolving landscape. We are Raycom Media. Find your opportunity today.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back. I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned. If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veteran Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go. Visit this website to learn what to expect.
Our conversation on conversion therapy continues right after we get a check on the weather from Steve Newman. Stay with us.
Well, Alan, we have a beautiful evening in progress. Sunset just about 25 minutes from now. There's some high clouds up there, very thin high clouds. They're really not high enough to even show up on satellite, as we've seen earlier today. And our current temperature at the airport, 60 degrees. Humidity is way down there, 42%. Look at the dew point, 37. Now, if the wind were not blowing up to about 14 miles an hour, the temperatures will be dropping like a stone right now. So I think the coolest temperature we're going to see is about 40, 45 degrees. Didn't rain today either. Look at this. We are almost 2 inches below normal for rainfall for this time of year, and for the year, 4 inches below normal, and there's none in the forecast for the next 5 days. I had to run across the studio. Let me catch my breath here for a second. As you look at today's high temperatures, 66 at Tampa, 72 at Miami, and Pensacola currently 69. Now across our viewing area, we had some low 70s inland because of the heat of the land, but along the coast we really didn't warm much above the low to mid 60s. Even out on the outer Keys, it was like 63, 64 this afternoon. Now along the east coast, That nor'easter has wound down. There's all that's left of it is in the maritime provinces of Canada. You see around Halifax, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, it's still snowing there. But where they had all the snow back in New York and around Boston, it is winding down, just a little bit of showers up in New England. Another major storm is moving into the west where they need the rain. You can see raining San Francisco southward, and a lot of heavy rain down around Santa Barbara area where a lot of people have had to evacuate because of the threat of mudslides. Now, here's that storm out west. Day by day, it's going to progress eastward, and by next Wednesday or Thursday, they could have more snow in the east from that. Until then, high pressure in place, a little pool of cool air covering most of the country behind that jet stream. Temperature is not all that cool up in the north, only 48 at New York City, Boston 36. So you can see it's really too warm to snow, but look at this, we're seeing some 90s back in West Texas down into northern Mexico. Now here's our futurecast, and high pressure is in control for day after day after day. And right now, because its position is channeling in a northeasterly dry wind flow, which is why it's going to be cool tonight. But over the weekend, that high comes over us and then moves out into the Atlantic, setting up a southerly wind flow. Look, that warm air return for Sunday and Saturday, too. It's going to be a pretty darn nice weekend I think you're going to like. Here's your forecast for the rest of tonight. It'll be clear and it'll be cool, low 45 with the north-northwesterly winds slowly subsiding, and those winds will get less and less tomorrow, too, with a beautiful, pleasant day. Low humidity 72, the high average is 77. Here's your 7-day outlook, and there's not a lot on it. Pretty much the same day after day, except we do have a warming trend setting in for Saturday and Sunday with highs getting into the upper 70s, low 80s on Monday, and we stay mild right on through next week. We could have a change, though, Easter weekend. We'll tell you about more of that later. Al will be back with his guest right after these words.
I used to dread getting up and going to work.
I was done with the corporate grind.
I was tired of being a starving artist.
And I started looking around for a business that I believed in, and I kind of wanted to do something a little more green.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
They've really taught me how to think big.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible, all for free.
I'm here because of SCORE.
I'm here because of SCORE.
Get your free business mentor at SCORE.org.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Zupan, part of the U.S. Paralympic rugby team. In my game, movement is everything. I get frustrated when my move is blocked, especially when that guy has no right to be there, even just for a minute. I love a challenge, but I don't like to play this game every day.
A message from the United Spinal Association.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Welcome back. We're talking about the effort in Sarasota to ban so-called conversion therapy. And joining us for more is Suzanne Atwell. You may know her as a former city commissioner, but she is also a licensed therapist. And joining us by Skype from Dallas is David Pickup, a licensed family therapist who practices restorative therapy, and also Nathan Bremer of Also Youth. And David, let me start with you again, because we have two therapists here with two different points of view. And she would like to know, exactly what do you do in terms of talk therapy, and how do you measure the results?
The client is always in the driver's seat. When someone comes in through decades-old, long accepted psychodynamic interventions, the client determines that because of trauma, whatever kind of trauma that was, that's the origin of their homosexual feeling. And on that basis, it fits perfectly the theory of psychodynamic theory, which resolves causes of what our issues are, and the symptoms, in a sense, I wouldn't use that word necessarily, but in a sense, the symptoms disappear. And that's exactly what happens in reparative therapy. In reparative therapy, these people are treated with compassion, love, understanding. For the few people I have that are gay identified clients, one would think I would force them and shame them into being heterosexual. And that's conversion therapy, which is completely ridiculous. That's not what professional licensed therapists do. In fact, I'm shocked to know, glad to know actually, that Ms. Atwell recited her own view of therapy, and what she cited is exactly what happens in reparative therapy. Reparative therapy is not for people who are gay identified.
Okay,
it's for people with homosexual feelings.
Let me try to ask you, are you saying that anyone who is gay suffered some kind of trauma as a youth or a child?
I'm not saying, I didn't say that. Now, it is my personal belief that every single one of my clients have exactly presented with that situation. So yeah, every single one of my colleagues, clients, and my clients the world over that's exactly what we found out. But the client is in the driver's seat. And so to not offer therapy, in other words, this becomes the main question at this point, or at least one of them. Does a child or an adult have the right to participate in professional licensed therapy that they report actually works for them? You have to ask that question.
Yeah, but there's a lot there. But first, let me ask you this, Nathan. Number one, in your experience, and you work with youngsters who are gay and lesbian, do each one of them have a trauma as a youth that is responsible for them being gay or bisexual?
Right. So, of course not. So whether or not you're talking about the youth that we serve here in the Suncoast, or we're talking about Americans across the country, hundreds of thousands of Americans have been subjected to conversion therapy. We know those statistics, and we also know that it's ineffective and it's harmful. You see poor outcomes as a result, the worst of which is suicidality and suicides. And we know there are local therapists that are treating are young people who have been through conversion therapy and are needing additional therapy because of poor outcomes.
Suzanne, let me ask you this question. Is there a difference in your opinion, and I believe this ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, only deals with minors in terms of banning it in Sarasota, for anybody who is under the legal age. That's not to say that an adult, woman or man, may choose to have this kind of therapy because they don't want to live that lifestyle.
Right. No, what we need to look at here, at the very least, we need to look at minors, and this is why we're doing this ordinance right now, and I hope it does pass. That's the very least. I know other states are working on it for adults, but we have to start with our most vulnerable. The clients that I saw, the youth, when you think about that age, the most vulnerable, when they start addressing issues of human sexuality, that's the dangerous time that they're susceptible to a lot of this, I call it bunk. I do. I think it's egregious, some of the methods that they're using that will, and he can say, well, the clients have the say. I mean, I just think that's skirting around the issue that you're saying, well, the client sitting there, they're in control of it.
David,
no.
let me ask you that same question they asked Suzanne, because as I said, an adult can make a decision about whether or not they want to take part in this therapy, seek it out in some cases, but a child doesn't have that option. If a parent takes them there, whether or not the child is seeking it.
That happens occasionally in my office. And so Sarasota needs to know that licensed professional ethical therapists always tell parents, we do not force children to change. The LGBT activists in Sarasota want you to believe something different. We show them love and acceptance. And if they believe they're born gay, we bless them on their way. But for those people who, because of trauma, experience homosexual feelings, the city of Sarasota is actually about to say it's illegal to give a child psychotherapy to resolve homosexual issues brought on by sexual abuse. Do you know what it feels like to be sexually abused by a budding young pedophile? I do. When I was 5 years of age, these were exactly my issues. Make a long story short, I went through authentic, licensed, professional, and reparative therapy, and it helped save my life. So Sarasota is not getting all the information it needs. It's being lied to by the LGBT activists who are focusing on.
So let me put that to you, Nathan. I mean, I'm sure you deal with all sorts of youngsters at also youth. Are there youngsters who are there who wish they could? They're dealing with a lot of issues. Could they also be wondering to themselves or asking or talking about that they really don't want to live this lifestyle, that they're trying to cope and they're trying to find answers?
I wish I could answer your question, but based on our services being confidential, I can't. But one of the things I need to point out very clearly, first of all, the ordinance hasn't been drafted, so what he is alleging, we know is not going to happen. And as passionate as he is and as personal as his call to action is, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Counseling Association, the American Psychoanalytic Association, and the National Association of School Psychologists all disagree with your guest.
Right. So but is there a difference here in terms of what David is saying and describing as reparative therapy here and conversion therapy, which has been derided for many years now?
Well, you know, it's interesting. We listed the associations, even the World Psychiatric Association, and Freud also, who I learned under the thumb of Freud. Any therapist reads a lot about that. Even he thought that homosexuality was nothing more than a normal variation on human sexuality, and that's what I think is kind of the norm, that if you turn it into something else, you're going to want to convert it. You're going to want to excise it. You want to, and in some cases, some people exorcise it. But even back in the day, way back in the day, when homosexuality was questioned, even Freud, with a patient, said, a mother brought a son to him and said, "Would you please cure my son of homosexuality?" He said, "My dear, you know, just a normal variation of human sexuality, and it will be kind of difficult." It's really interesting to see. And I want to raise one more point that David said about what he went through. Oftentimes, there are a lot of therapists out there or people that are involved in groups that they're not objective. A lot of people have experience, they've gone through it, so that they will lead groups because they have been through it.
David, this is not something that Sarasota is doing in a vacuum here. Tampa just approved a similar ordinance in the last year, and as we said at the outset, a lot of counties and cities and towns in Florida are doing the same. Respond for a second, and we only have less than a minute left, that all these professional organizations seem to be saying that there is no merit to what you call reparative therapy.
And yet, Alan, you notice that the one largest psychological association in the entire world, they left out, the American Psychological Association. Their 2014 APA handbook says sexual feelings can sometimes change. They also said in their latest task force report that they're on page 82 and 83 of their conclusions, that there is no proof of harm of sexual orientation change efforts. They're not quoting all the research. These people are cherry-picking research to the detriment of children. And can you imagine a minor child, let's say 17 years old, he's got feelings of pedophilia, and he walks into a therapist's office in Sarasota, and that therapist has to tell him, "I'm sorry, it's illegal for me to help you reduce or eliminate your homosexual feelings in this version of homosexual feelings, which is called
Unfortunately, David, we're going to have to let it go right there. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Obviously, this is a very important conversation, and we should continue it here in Sarasota. But before we go, we want to hear what some of you had to say about last night's show on red light cameras and license plate readers. License plate readers aren't just to catch you running red lights. They can also be used in criminal investigations. There is a key element, catching the man charged with a double murder last year in Longboat Key, but the city of Sarasota has vetoed or voted not to add license plate readers to its systems, and we went to Facebook to hear your thoughts. Jennifer says red light cameras are one thing, the rest of them, that's a little bit creepy. And Mary says, how is it an invasion of privacy? You are driving on public streets. As for other cameras, I have served as a juror. Those cameras solve cases that otherwise would have been let criminals run free. And Robin says, the ignorance scares me when people believe that only those doing illegal stuff can get caught up in our justice system. If you'd like like to join the conversation about last night's or tonight's topic, just join us on Facebook, and you could leave a comment at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired, just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank all our guests for being here tonight. Former City Commissioner Nathan and Suzanne Atwell, Nathan Bremer from Also Youth, and joining us by Skype, David Pickup, a licensed family physician in Dallas area. When we come back, we'll be joined by economics professor Michael Snipes in our weekly segment. Stay with us.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Imagine a world filled with pillow fights, playgrounds, and the search for the perfect climbing tree. Every kid deserves that world, but 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger. At No Kid Hungry, we're committed to creating a world where every kid eats healthy food every day. We raise funds, we help families, and we lift up communities.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on MySuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blog, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at MySuncoast.com/dining.
Welcome back. We're talking about money. It is used to pay our bills, put a roof over our heads, buy us groceries, basically help us survive. But here to explain the real value of currency is Michael Snipes, an economics professor from USF Sarasota Manatee. What are you talking about?
Well, money is something that we use every single day of our lives, but I don't think it's really something that we think very deeply about. And more specifically, why money has value in the first place. So if we think literally about what money is, what a dollar bill is. What it literally is really nothing more than really just paper with ink on it. And so if we've got something that's, this $1 bill that I have, it's really just paper with ink on it, right? Or I've got another piece of currency here that's from Uganda, right? So it's a 10,000 shilling.
Where you got that, I don't know.
Well, doesn't everybody carry around Ugandan currency in their pocket? And if we think about what this is literally paper with ink on it. And with the help of my daughter, earlier today, I created my own currency that I call Snipes Bucks from the Republic of Snipesopolis.
Which is what we pay you with.
Well, clearly, right? And so, really, if we think about it, what all three of these things have in common is they're really nothing more than just paper with ink on them. Right? And so then if we think about, well, why these have value in the first place, I think it's fairly easy to see why this currency, this money, has no value. But if we think about it, we've got this shilling from Uganda, and we've got this dollar, but only one of these holds any value in the United States. So the question becomes, if these are both literally the same thing, and this is currency, this is legitimate currency from a sovereign country, then why is it that only this piece of paper with ink on it has any value. And it goes to what economists call fiat currency. And fiat currency is exactly that. It's money that doesn't have any use or any value outside of just being used as money in the first place. Right? And so why does this have value in the first place? It really goes down to, if you've ever looked at a dollar bill, there's a little phrase up here in the corner that says, "This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private." And that's really one of the two main criteria that we need in order for money to have value in the first place. So currency, like we have here in the United States, or currency in Uganda, or the euro, or the peso, that really is money that derives its value because the government says it has value. And that phrase that I just read off, that's part of it.
Michael, I don't think that most people understand that, especially when you hear people on CNBC and other financial networks talk about the rise and the fall of the dollar in the international marketplace. And perhaps this is a conversation that we should continue to have as we go along. We want to thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Right. Michael Snipes joins us every Thursday night to discuss the different ways economics can impact our lives. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather. Plus, you can trade war with China. Can you say the Dow was down 700 points? Stay with us.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
Performing on stage takes mental and physical preparation. But one thing I never thought to prepare for was cervical cancer. 91% of cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. The good news is there are vaccines that can protect you or your children from cancer. I survived my cancer, but you can stop cancer before it starts. Talk to your doctor and go to thinkaboutthelink.org to learn more.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in the moment, but right now let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with meteorologist Steve Newman.
Alan, it was a fresh day today, a brisk day with those northerly winds filtering in dry air over the state. But if you're at the beach and you are from up north, you probably had a great day. If you're a native Floridian or someone who's lived here quite a while, it might have been a little too cool for you, but things will warm up for the weekend. 60, the current temperature at the airport, the dew point 37. Now, in the summer months, we have dew points in the 60s and low 70s, and it gets really tropical. This is almost like desert dryness over us right now with a 37-degree dew point, and it's only because of those winds blowing from the northwest that our temperatures are not going to fall into the upper 30s tonight. So we're thankful for those winds, but they will die down tomorrow. By then, the air will moisten up and we won't be as cold. Look at these dew point temperatures in the 20s up in northern Florida, along the Sun Coast, pretty much in the 30s everywhere. Out in Highlands County, Sebring and Lake Placid with 29 degrees. That's as cold as the air could possibly get before it becomes 100% saturated with moisture. And there's no moisture in the atmosphere above us, hardly any at all. As you can see, with winter's last chill blowing over us, nothing can be seen on satellite. Those thin clouds that you may have seen outside late this afternoon aren't even thick enough to show up on satellite. And there's nothing showing up on radar either, not a drop of rain falling anywhere in the state. Had plenty of snow this winter across the northern tier of states, and they're getting more out in California with another major winter storm going there. And the nor'easter has dumped more snow in the northeastern United States, all the way down through the Appalachians. You can see they have between a half foot and a foot of snow there, even more than that up into Maine. We're looking at between 3 and 4 feet of snow in some places up there. So if we look at the whole nation's weather picture, high pressure is going to shut off that snow and rainfall for quite some time. We got a dip in the jet stream giving us cool air over us, and here is that storm in California giving them much needed rain and mountain snow that will eventually become another snowstorm in several days for the east. But this weekend should be pretty nice. Across the nation at this hour, it is 80 degrees at Dallas, 67 in Kansas City, Salt Lake City 64, only 36 at Toronto. It's not all that cold up north. Well, here's our futurecast that takes us into what will probably be an exceptionally nice weekend. Right now, there's a high pressure bringing in those northeasterly winds, but as that high pressure gets down over us, the winds will subside, and then eventually, with the high moving eastward, winds will come in from the south, bringing in warm air from the Caribbean, ushering in a really nice weekend starting Saturday and Sunday. You'll see what those temperatures will be like in a minute. But for tonight, look for it to be clear and cool. Low temperature 45 degrees, the average 57, and those winds will still be around. And if you perhaps after midnight notice the winds dying down a whole lot, you could get a lot colder than that 45, but that's what I'm betting on right now. Sunny and pleasant for Saturday, high temperature 72, your average high 77 with north-northeast winds 5 to 10. Here's your 7th-day outlook. Now, we have highs tomorrow only 72, but that's better than the 66 we got today. And then it's pretty boring for several days other than the warming trend that sets in for Saturday and Sunday, highs in the upper 70s, low 80s on Monday. We have a very weak dry front coming through either Tuesday or Wednesday, but you can see it only drops the overnight low temperatures down into the upper 50s for a little bit, but the daytime highs still stay seasonably mild. This could be winter's last chill we're getting tonight. Some people will like that, others kind of like the chill. Every once in a while, it's a nice thing to have. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after these words.
Rugs as Art. You know the name, you know the building, but do you know what's inside? Yes, Rugs as Art is Florida's #1 area rug superstore. But there is so much more. Amazing furniture, accessories, and art. All this and more. Come see for yourself. You'll love our personal touch and be pleasantly surprised by our affordable prices. Rugs as Art and more. There is so much more to explore.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Webb.
And I'm Ray Collins. Imagine being told you have to change your address due to a government error.
Well, it's happening to some Sarasota homeowners. We're going to tell you how they're trying to fight City Hall. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
So our weather is driven by a big ridge of high pressure that will provide us with a northerly wind, but then shift to the east, meaning a weekend warm-up.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
One of the motivating factors for me to become a Big Brother was that I was mentored as a youth. And it was important for me to kind of pass forward the things that were kind of given to me. It's really just as simple as getting to know a kid. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have any of those other things. You just have to be willing to spend a little time and help mold some young person's life.
Checking primetime headlines, President Trump fired the next shot in his crackdown on Chinese trade abuses today, ordering tariffs on roughly $50 billion worth of Chinese imports. ABC's Tara Palmieri has more.
On the brink of a trade war with China, President Trump is ramping up tariffs against the world's second largest economy. Trump announced new barriers on about $60 billion worth of Chinese goods.
It's going to make us a much stronger, much richer nation.
Suggesting this strike against China's tech practices is just the beginning of a global trade overhaul.
This is the first of many. This is number one, but this is the first of many.
The president's trade team reportedly presented him with tariffs on $30 billion worth of Chinese imports. But he wanted more, upping the value to nearly $60 billion. For Trump, the tariffs are payback.
Just use the word reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them the same thing.
Speaking to Chinese President Xi today, Trump asked China to reduce its surplus with the U.S. by $100 billion.
We're in the midst of a very large negotiation.
The stock market started low in anticipation of the announcement. The Dow sunk by nearly 500 points after the signing. Senate Finance Chairman Orrin Hatch said he supports the measures as long as Trump is punishing bad actors.
That remedy should be targeted specifically at the perpetrators and beneficiaries of China's actions.
Earlier this month, President Trump announced sweeping tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. But he exempted major steel producers, including Mexico, Canada, the European Union, Argentina, and Australia. According to the Department of Commerce, the U.S. trade deficit with China rose to $375 billion last year. That's up nearly $30 billion from the year before that. Tara Palmieri, ABC News, New York.
President Trump's national security advisor is resigning. H.R. McMaster will be replaced by former U.S. Ambassador and Fox News analyst John Bolton. President Trump made the announcement in a tweet today. President Trump's personal lawyer, the one handling the response to the Russia investigation, he's resigned. Sources say John Dowd's relationship with the president has been strained in recent days because of the hiring of attorney Joe DeGeneva and because of blowback from comments Dowd made about special counsel Robert Mueller. Last week, Dowd suggested Mueller should end his investigation into Russia meddling in the 2016 election. He initially claimed he was speaking for the president, but later said he was only speaking for himself. You have probably never seen a police pursuit quite like this one. The slow speed chase started in Baytown, Texas this morning. Baytown police say that they got a 911 call about a man reportedly pistol whipping a woman. When officers arrived, the man got into a vehicle and took off. The man eventually pulled over and was taken into custody. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.